Hi, I'm David, and together with my partner Nikki, we from Seasonality brokerage. So today we want to give you a few tips based on our experience of selling used and new sailboats in French Polynesia. We believe it's really a great place to list your boat. So is 2020 different in terms of selling your boat? Yes, absolutely. It's a very complicated year. But what we've seen is we've got a very high level of inquiries. People living in big cities are thinking of doing what you've just done, which is going cruising, going off the grid, away from the big city with this horrible virus. So we get a lot of demand, a lot of inquiries, but obviously it's very hard to move it. It's hard for you guys to get to the next destination because everything is pretty much closed, and it's also very hard for buyers to travel to inspect boat, organize survey, and think about their plan. But what we think is once things settle down a bit, we will have a very high level of sales based on all the inquiries we're getting at the moment. So let's not lose hope. The market is definitely complicated right now, but we've got very positive sign, and we can see that the attraction of the Pacific island is stronger than ever. So first, there's a question people often ask us is how long does it take to sell a boat on the market in French Polynesia? And it varies widely. It can go from 2 days. We've sold boats 2 days after we put them online, to a year, sometimes 2 years. But on average, I would say you gotta think about 3 to 6 months, which is important in your cruising plan, because that means you should start the process 3 to 6 months before the end of your cruise. And clients always ask us as well whether there is a seasonality in yacht sales, and there is, but being in the central of the Pacific, it's quite mitigated, and we've got a rather regular sales volume throughout the year, although January and February might be a little bit lower. What happens is typically people, when it's not the nice season to cruise where they live, they're going to be thinking about buying a boat for the next cruising season. And cruising season varies depending whether you are in the northern hemisphere or the southern hemisphere, because obviously there's different weather patterns. But being in the center of the Pacific, we actually get people calling us all year round. So what are the first steps when you want to sell your boat? The first one is to do a proper market analysis, to understand what price you should advertise your boat and which market you should target. If you've got a cruising catamaran, it's a very good idea to target people that want to go cruising, obviously. If you've got more of a racing boat, you might be better off trying to focus on the New Zealand market or on the San Francisco market, where you've got some regatta scenes. In terms of prices, thanks to the internet, we've got access to a lot of data, so we can pull out all the data about historical prices for similar boats. We can compare equipment to get a better idea of where we should price your boat. And it's also important to be attractive, taking into account that we are in a dream location where people want to come cruising, but it's got a little bit of logistic cost. So we need to be attractive, and that's the main difference between a boat that's going to sell quickly or that's going to take a long time to sell, is did we focus on the right kind of buyers and did we have the right price. Selling boat is about passion, but it's also about marketing and data. So I promise I would give you a few data. Here they are. First, what are the sizes of the market? I must say that the Pacific market is smaller than the European market. Europe has 250 million inhabitants. Countries like Australia have 25 million, 1/10 of Europe, or New Zealand 5 million. So it's 2% of the size of the European market. But fortunately, we also have all the US West Coast, which is approximately 60 to 70 million people. With that in mind, when people ask us what is the best location, we tend to answer that the best location is the most central in the Pacific, because you want to be attractive to people coming from Australia, from New Zealand, but also from the US West Coast. So we found out that all the island locations, be it Tahiti, Hawaii, Fiji, are quite attractive, and the more west you go, the more the logistics gets complicated. So sure, if your boat is in Australia, it's very attractive for Australian buyers, but it's going to be very complicated for Californian buyers to come and get her delivered. Delivering a boat from Australia to the US West Coast, it's going against the trade wind, so it's long, it's expensive, it's complicated, and that's why we see more and more people looking to buy boats that are in the cruising area, which is French Polynesia, Hawaii, Fiji, and especially, and I will talk a little bit about that, as we have very interesting tax systems. Taxes are very important when talking about yacht sales, because the buyers, they can either keep the boat in transit. In places like French Polynesia, a boat can stay up to 24 months in transit. That means if you've been here for 6 months to 1 year, the buyer can buy the boat duty-free, tax-free, have all their new equipment shipped tax-free, and they can still enjoy 1 year of French Polynesia. In other locations, if you go in there, you'll have to pay all the import fees even before you can advertise your boat. That's the case in Australia. 15% taxes you gotta pay straight away up front. New Zealand is a little bit better. Taxes are extremely high there. Unfortunately, they're 22%. So whenever the buyer is from New Zealand, the financial negotiation is always a little bit harder because of these taxes. But at least in New Zealand, you don't have to pay the taxes up front, and that's very good yard to do a refit, very good yard to store your boat. But by far and large, the most convenient for a buyer is to buy a boat in transit in an island, because we don't have to pay any taxes. Exchange rates are extremely important as well, because they show the difference in relative wealth between countries. So for example, if we look here, and we'll put this chart bigger, but if we look at the Australian dollar versus US dollars, you can see that over the past years it's dropped by a little bit over 20%. That means that if you bought your boat in euros and you're in the Pacific, there's high chances the buyers will think in Australian dollars, New Zealand dollars, it's very close, or in US dollars. And mathematically, people from the US will have more buying power. When they translate the price into euros, you'll get more from an American buyer than from an Australian buyer, because of this difference in currency. And we don't get many buyers from Asia. We did a few sales. We sold 2 boats actually to people from Singapore, but you know, it's like 2 boats in 3 years, whereas we sell between 20 and 30 boats per year. Summary in terms of location and strategy, I would say the most important is to get the marketing content right, to get the targeting right, to get the price right, and to start the process early on and in a central location. That's how you get the best chances to get the best transaction for you. And by best transaction, I mean not only the best price, but also the transaction happening in the place that is the most convenient for you and at the right time for you. So we wish you a very pleasant stay in French Polynesia, a beautiful cruise. We hope that you will enjoy the Leeward Island as much as we love them. If you're thinking about selling your boat, even if it's just, you know, the start of your thoughts, please talk to us. We'll be happy to help. Most importantly, we'll be happy to meet you, to discover your boat. You know, we do this because we love boats, we love cruising, we love French Polynesia, and we're really looking forward to meeting you guys. Feel free to call us, to shoot us an email. You can visit our website to get an idea of how we work, www.sailtaichi.com. We also have a YouTube channel. Some of you might have seen some of the videos we've done, and we really look forward to doing the same for you and for your boat, and helping you get the best results so you can focus on your cruising, and we'll focus on the sailing.